and welcome to another edition of BCR Webcasting. I'm very happy to be joined today by Amr El Haddad, who's head of transaction banking at the National Bank of Kuwait, and is also Amr is also a board member of ITFA Merck. And Amr, just remind me, Merck stands for Middle East Regional Committee.
Regional Committee, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome, Amsh, and you're going to be talking at our MENA Supply Chain Finance Conference, which will take place on the 3rd and 4th of November at the Dubai Chambers in Dubai. And your particular panel is on AI and automation in supply chain finance. So supply chain finance is quite an automated process already. What difference do you think AI can make on this, and what further improvements do you think we might see as a result of AI?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Supply chain finance has, I think, come a very long way in terms of automation. Today, onboarding, KYC, credit scoring, and even the transactional flows themselves are much more digitized than, let's say, 5 years ago. There are, however, three key areas where I think some improvements are still needed. One is onboarding and data integration. Supplier onboarding remains quite fragmented in the market, and automation, extraction, and validation of data from trade documents to the corporate ERP systems using AI or machine learning can dramatically reduce the friction. Two is credit decisioning and risk monitoring. And most of the supply chain finance programs still rely heavily on traditional financial statements and buyer ratings, while integrating the real-time transactional data and payment histories, and even the ESG scoring for that matter, into an automated decisioning process can definitely unlock wider supplier participation. Third, and probably the most important, is the interoperability, and we've been talking about that on the different stages for quite some time. Automation often sits in silos. We don't talk the same language when it comes to technology, and creating standardized APIs amongst fintechs, banks, and corporates would definitely allow those supply chain finance platforms to talk to each other, for the lack of a better term, and hence improving access to liquidity. In terms of the immediate wins, if you like, I think faster supplier onboarding, and this is basically, I think, the main pain point in any supply chain finance program. So faster supplier onboarding is an outcome of that. Higher adoption rates amongst the long-tail suppliers. We all know that banks are always interested in the top 20, but they are not that much interested in the rest, so that will help out for sure. And third is real-time visibility of the transactions and of the obligations and the liquidity itself as well. Mm-hmm. So in short, I think the next leap is not really to digitize the existing steps. They're already digitized, but it's more about connecting the data flow across different ecosystems.
Mm. Yeah, and getting to the long tail, getting to those very small suppliers has always been a problem. So, that this will be interesting to see to what extent, what difference AI makes with that. And I would just want to focus a little bit more on risk. What major differences do you think AI can make in terms of uncovering risk patterns or risk management over and above what traditional models are achieving?
We will be able to look forward. Traditional credit and risk models all look backwards. The balance sheets of the previous years, historical performance, credit bureau data, AI can detect, and detect is the magic word. It can detect signals in unstructured and forward-looking data that humans typically miss. And this is the main difference. And there are examples of that, like supplier fragility. AI can detect stress patterns from subtle changes in invoice timings, shipment details, even social media sentiments around the supplier before they default. Buyer concentration risk, something that we always talk about in the banking industry. AI can actually map an entire ecosystem and highlight over reliance on a single buyer, a single geography, or even a single industry. And in terms of the opportunities, AI can spot suppliers with high growth potential, strong ESG rating or compliance, or even operational efficiency. Those buyers are typically underserved by the current financing models. So I think the outcome should be a shift from a reactive risk management to more of a proactive opportunity capture. This is what AI can do.
Mm. And what about fraud? Fraudsters are increasingly becoming more and more sophisticated. It's the constant battle protecting against fraud. To what extent do you think AI can help with keeping one step ahead of the fraudsters?
One step ahead, sort of resist or go against them. I mean, we can agree and disagree on that, but in general, I would agree with you that fraud and trade finance and the business in general has become far more complex. In trade finance world, duplicating invoices, falsified shipping details, or even synthetic identities in some transactions out there. Traditional rule-based systems can't really keep up because fraudsters are always one step ahead and are always adapting to the new technology. However, AI can help in many ways. One is maybe pattern recognition at a scale, and this is something that only AI can handle. AI can analyze millions or even billions of data points across invoices, bills of lading, and payment flows to identify any abnormal or invisible patterns to manual checks. Two is probably network analysis, because it can detect collusion rings by mapping supplier and buyer relationships and spotting any unusual circular trade flows. Third is probably continuous learning, because unlike static rules, AI evolves with new fraud patterns. It learns and it improves over time. This obviously, and this is alluding to my first point in this question, this does not necessarily eliminate fraud altogether, but at least it makes it very hard to bad actors to succeed.
Is there any one thing that you think will make a really big impact on supply chain finance over the next 5 years? We've mentioned many things already, but is there one thing that stands out particularly as really helping to reshape the supply chain finance sector in the coming years with AI?
I like this question the most, to be honest, because 10 years back I was asking the same question, and I imagined a glass wall in front of every treasurer where they can wave with their face, making a facial gestures here and there, and move the flows and get the financing and all that. But if I will give a prediction now that we have all the AI initiatives around us, including in UAE here, obviously, I will think of supply chain finance being invisible. And before we jump into conclusions, I think we need AI to be embedded in the transaction itself. I would dream of a supplier issuing an invoice, and in a real time, AI, remember the glass wall, AI evaluates the buyer's profile, validates the shipment, assesses the fraud risk, and maybe set up pricing for financing these transactions. Maybe at the same time, in real time, funds will be disbursed almost instantly, real time, without the supplier even thinking about applying for financing. So this embedded predictive finance model, if you like, will sort of blur the lines between what is supply chain management and supply chain finance. And the winners would be those who think of AI not just for efficiency or cost saving, but think of AI as a tool to reimagine the whole experience, to redo it.
So it becomes a kind of automatic, intrinsic part of the whole supply chain management process, essentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, interesting. And you mentioned treasurers there. Um, it's worth mentioning that we'll have quite a number of treasurers who will be attending this event, so it'll be interesting to get their views and reactions to how AI can make a big difference to supply chain automation and management in the future. So, thanks very much indeed for your time today, and we'll very much look forward to hearing more from you and your fellow panelists at our fourth MENA Supply Chain Finance Conference, which, as I mentioned before, will take place on the 3rd and 4th of November at the Dubai Chambers in Dubai. So look forward to seeing you again then.
Can't wait to be there. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.